top lane. Q gonna land after the knockup from Brandini, and that's the follow-up. The Haymaker is good, but Lolo, can he stay alive? The flash in to secure it, and there's the first blood as the hammer comes down for Brandini. Brandini's in the backline, but the lands are spiking and keep the backline alive for a little while longer. Three-man knockup's massive. Definitely in the backline, gonna get one, gonna make it two. There's a second one pop, and gonna be a third as Lolo will fall as well. EG, they're straight through mid at this point. They're not mucking around, Chrome.
That's their focus on the side of TSM, but the health bars of C9 just winning right now to TSM. If Lost can start to deliver out the damage, that might change, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be too little, too late, and that's a big fight for Cloud9. Oh, it's going to be huge! The shock and awe fight from Cloud9! And that is going to wipe TSM off the map. But wait, the Cosmic Radiance comes down, and now C9's getting hit. This is going to be the rebuttal coming in after the bullet time, but they still find the damage onto Treats. It's going to be the World Ender, and the ender of this fight, a possible pentakill for Palafox on the second game casted in. They're waiting, bated breath, and there it is, the pentakill! That's going to be Cloud9. Look at the Nexus turns. Raz 30 minutes into this one. They wanted a statement game to finalize it, to push themselves to the 2020 Spring Academy Finals, and they will try to mastermind and take down evil geniuses on the Rift.
Welcome everyone to the 2020 Spring Academy Final, where either Cloud9 or Evil Geniuses will be crowned kings. But what's a king without a royal court? Here to help me serve that honor, I have two lovely gentlemen by my side. We have Raz, we have Mark C. How you fellas doing?
Wait, we have to, which one of us is the jester? Because I feel like this is the most important thing to figure out.
I don't want to even hear it.
You
don't want to hear it?
If you want to crown yourself jester, I'm completely fine with that, Mark.
All right.
That's the true
Fine,
purpose of the test.
That was too easy. What?
I don't know. I didn't want to derail us too much into a tangent. I'm sorry. I already did enough.
Then stop posing such important predicaments, Marksy. That's the issue. Anyway, as far as what we have before us now, it's Evil Geniuses, it's Cloud9, it's the finals. And Raz, as you have been there throughout the entirety of the journey, how does this align with your expectations for who you thought was going to be in the finals at the end of the split?
I feel like every team in Academy really found that growth, right? Because immediately the storyline was like Dignitas. Who can really match Dignitas Academy? And really my question was if there was going to be a team that really came up head and shoulders above the rest. And I didn't expect it to be Cloud9 Academy. Cloud9 actually put in so much hard work, I think. Because they had really grown the most of all teams to find themselves in first place. As for EG Academy, I mean, I'm still in disbelief, personally. I still am kind of weirded out by the fact that they found themselves in the finals with the fact that they rallied here.
Yeah, I think the C9 9-0 towards the back end of the split is something that really drew my attention because we already know that C9 is such a great organization infrastructure-wise. They've been in 5 out of 8 of the last finals in Academy/Challenger, so they have this incredible pedigree. It's not a surprise to see them in here again, but you know, just to Raz's point about where they started, it wasn't initially eye-catching, so I definitely want to give a big shout-out to the coaching staff who has always been good about it. I think Westerice has bumped up a little bit from Academy to the main roster, so I'm not entirely sure if everyone helping them out, but they clearly did a great job of getting this team together. And then to your point about EG, yeah, they're definitely the wild card that I don't think anyone expected. Even though they did finish the regular season 3rd, it's just taking down Dignitas was crazy.
Quite a turnaround for EG once they had some roster changes going against Cloud9 here, where if you look at the bot lane in particular, Cloud9's bot lane was actually the first that they ended up locking at the beginning of the season. So how do you think that is going to fare against EG's bot lane?
I mean, they both have some like incredible talents in their duo lane, and I think not only do they have talented players, but it's more so the experience that for me stands out. Like King as a player, I remember, you know, the newest pickup here for the team came in from Oceania and had always kind of been known as a strong mechanical player, but now he's just so well-rounded.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you know, EG's bot lane is a literal LCS bot lane with definitely a Matt. You know, they play on Golden Guardians for a period of time together. So it's a very experienced bot lane, to your point. And I think that's applies to a lot of EG as a whole as well. Even Brandini in the top lane having a lot of experience, like you're saying, with the Osh boys in the top lane, Fudge coming over from Direwolves. Yeah. They have Worlds experience. So, like, both rosters have a lot of it.
Speaking
and I think, I wanted to talk about the fact that not only to the bottom lane point, because talking about how well-rounded they are, the fact that I'm interested in the fact that they, even though the jungle proximity towards the bottom side is pretty high for Cloud9 Academy, that they use that pressure to then use the support to go mid lane, to help Palafox and go top side. I think Fudge and Palafox for me are the standout players for this team.
Yeah, speaking of the mid lane, as you just mentioned, you and Palafox being very powerful components for their team, how do you think that's going to turn out in the early game? Because they both really like to get aggressive with their junglers there too.
I guess we'll start with Gyu, just because he's the fresher face. He came late into the season. I think he only got 4 regular season games in, just from visa issues and stuff. And he is hyphy. He has super high forward percentage. I believe it's the highest of mid laners in the playoffs. He plays a lot of melee matchups, Aurelia, Kiana, stuff like this. He loves to fight. He loves to scrap. And so you can expect him to really challenge Palafox, who has quietly, over the last couple splits, starting from scouting grounds, become basically the best mid laner in Academy.
Yeah, it's wild. I think because remember, Palafox came in from Golden Guardians from the previous split, and just from hearing a lot of the people that he's worked with, when he's driven, he performs incredibly well. Like, his mechanics is something that people don't even question. So for me, like, the last series that he had where FLICKR, like, that keyword came in, insane. And he's really changed, in my perspective, how people view red side picks in Academy. Because for the most part, people don't even think about like Kassadin as an option. But he's really been forcing teams to respect that.
FLICKR picking up a Palapenta during that semifinal. But Raz, you mentioned another solo laner that's going to be extremely important here, and that is Fudge. Why is he so impactful for the team?
Like Fudge, talking about individual skill, I mean, Cloud9 Academy has a lot of that. Fudge as a player can play anything, carry tops, and on top of that, it feels like he's just so aware of his surroundings. A lot of the issues that you'd usually see from carry top laners is that they would either need the jungler to permanently be there, or they're feeding, or they're running it like they're making mistakes in their own lane to kind of push individual advantages. But Fudge is aware of when he needs to play safely, or just kind of like where the wave should be positioned. Like a lot of the details that's important in this series, a lot of times, Fudge is cognizant of. And another thing too is that if they're playing towards the bottom side, then his TPs have been fantastic.
Yeah, that's the point I want to make as well, is just how well he works with the team, because you mentioned these counter picks that Palafox is breaking out. He's almost always blinding early his pick. He plays Orange, Set, Aatrox as his 3 most played that take up the vast majority of his games. And that's a sacrifice that he's making. These are more team-oriented picks taken early in the draft. You're dealing with counter picks to free up your team. And, he carries that through into the game as well, like you're saying with these TP plays.
We've laid all the cards out on the table, though. Mark Z, who are you taking for the overall victory?
I mean, I kind of tipped my hand a little bit when I mentioned all the finals appearances C9 Academy has. They have dropped a couple in the finals, but I do believe that they are finally going to execute on it, pick up their win. They're going to go 3-1 in this series, I believe.
Yeah,
Raz?
I would go 3-1. I would have gone 3-0 if EG hadn't showed such strong performances in the previous series. I think it's just going to be a strong finish from Cloud9 Academy.
All right, well, Mark Z, Raz, thanks for the pizzazz. Before we go into game number 1, it is about time, so let's send things over to Pastry and Crumbs for the call.
Thank you very much. Let's get into it. My name is Julian at Pastry Time Car, and I am joined for one final time this Academy Spring season by Alberto Crumbs Rengifo.
A final time, but the best time, Pastry, because both these teams are on a crazy tear. We heard from Mark, I think 11-2 on Evil Geniuses, and then Cloud9 only dropping 1 match of the playoffs games. They have not lost yet, so the best 2 teams are finally here at the finals.
Yep, they've been on an absolute tear, so let's get into Champ Select now. This should be fun. We talked about it a little bit before we started the day, Crumbs, but I think this will be consistent. Aurelia being banned away from Gyu.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about Evil Geniuses is that they're very similar to what Niski was in the main Cloud9 last year, where he played a lot of melee champions. He's played only 3 ranged games, and all those games
and
are
they're all Zoe.
Yeah. So it's like when you're playing somebody that has such an emphasis on melee champions, priority goes to mid lane. Everything is about mid lane, because if you fall behind, you don't have wave clear, you can't really affect the map. So much focus for Cloud9 is on mid lane that Palafox does not want to do anything with it. And I also don't think that EG will first pick Zoe, because they have seen what happens when Palafox gets Kassadin in that matchup.
Yep, and of course, the rest of the bands being thrown the way of the bottom lane right now. Kalista, Senna, Aphelios, and Tom Kench are the next 4, and the last one is Rek'Sai. This is a nice one, Illinois' most played champion, and one that Ander has not played at least this season. So junglers do have some overlap, of course. The jungle pool's generally not that big and competitive, but Rek'Sai has been a mainstay for Inori as set. Most played champion for both these top laners will be taken first by Cloud9.
I think the scary part about Rek'Sai was Inori's game 2 against TSM. He went down 0-4-0. He was hard inting on the champion, but somehow was still relentless in finding action and getting plays done, and that kind of initiative is something that EG does not want to deal with. We know that they struggle when the game gets a little bit chaotic, and Inori on Rek'Sai thrives in that environment. So taking that off the table, already Inori is not on his main, so maybe he'll be looking for something like a Trundle now that the Ornn is already out, and he'll have less of an impact early but more late.
And of course, already, a minute into Champ Select, they've already got something wrong. Set's actually the second most played for these two top laners, the most being Ornn, who of course was very prevalent, especially in the early weeks of the season. So Brandini will take that. We've seen Set versus Ornn a ton of times already this season. And MF, actually one of the picks I did want to talk about as well, are highly contested between King and Deathly. King, it's his most played. Deathly, it's also the same. They have about 1 game of difference, I believe, as far as the number of plays. After that, they do diverge a little bit, but looks like Varus will be the answer here for King, at least in game 1.
And the really good power point of Misfortune is her ability to just roam to the mid lane. I think Evil Geniuses would like to take advantage of, free up the Misfortune, can easily sneak away with that strut into the mid lane for a fight and help your mid lane. They'll come back to help you. Level 6, the dives into the bottom lane. EG going with, I think, a more traditional composition so far from what we usually like to see out of them, but their mid lane would still be the big curveball.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, Matt, not too surprising to see the Nautilus. This will be his 10th play on the champion so far on the season. But Thresh is the champion that both Diamond and Matt are known for, and they both played it a handful of times this season, but, it hasn't been the focus of a lot of their lanes. But again, when you're in game 1 of a final, you want to feel comfortable. You know your opponent plays this champion well as well. Diamond almost throwing the gauntlet down, saying like, hey, I'm the better Thresh in this matchup, and I'm going to show you why.
It is a good gauntlet to throw because game 1 Thresh, if you body fools, you're getting Thresh bans from now on. So these are some picks that could make their mark for following drafts. And the first one really is about testing the waters like you were talking about, because Cloud9 did lose that first game against TSM, but they quickly brought it back. They realized, okay, this is what TSM was doing. They were trying to engage so much, and they actually had the same matchup of supports here. The Nautilus into the Thresh. They would take advantage of the quicker engage, pull the trigger faster, and that was how they beat Cloud9.
All right, well, 2 mid lane bans now for EG. Zoe and LeBlanc, 2 very high priority champions, especially for Palafox, will go into the bin. Ander will also lose his Olaf, which is something we've seen him perform on time and time again this playoffs especially. But what is the final ban here for Cloud9? Because Palafox, again, like, even though he has played a lot of these champions, his pool is very deep, as you've mentioned, Crumb. So I'm curious to see what he goes for on the blind pick side. It looks like Ander will actually continue to be attacked here in draft, as he'll also lose Elise.
Oh, interesting. So an Elise ban would indicate that they think that Evil Geniuses wants to go with a strong 2v2, something like an Irelia Elise, Renekton Elise, something like that in the mid lane, because Elise with that lineup just does not make a ton of sense. And now we see that final pick, so this is the moment of truth. What does Palafox blind against Giyu, and what does Giyu respond with?
Yep, and of course, what is Inori going to take here? He's actually lost 3 of the 4 most played junglers he's played all season. We already talked about his Rek'Sai being the most at 7, then Jarvan at 5. His next most played champion is Elise and Gragas tied with 2 plays each. So not a lot of champions left as far as what Inori has shown us, but I guess Gragas was the last one. He's going to take it here. Okay,
Gragas, interesting. I thought the Trundle could be a good choice. You already have essentially 3 stone plate builders, so there's a lot of reduction to go for, but Gragas' synergy could be what they're looking for here. A lot of disengage against what Evil Geniuses is trying to go for, so good casks could make this pick really valuable. And then obviously the Syndra, the strongest mid lane that almost always gets banned in first pick, but here it goes all the way to the last pick.
That's true. Palefox doesn't want to get fancy. He doesn't have counter pick here, so it's just going to take a very stable blind pick champion, or one that he knows very well. It does feel like it can pressure a lot of the champions we'd expect Gyu to play as well. You already mentioned, Crumbs, that he basically plays melee champions unless Zoe's up, and Zoe is so powerful, I can kind of see why. But he is going to stick to that trend here. This man, I appreciate that he sticks to his guns. Akali is the counter pick here.
Yeah, right. It's seeing somebody that has a definite identity as a player. It's something new because a lot of players don't want to commit to a certain style because they feel like the flexibility is more important. But hey, if you're good enough at these picks, it's totally fine. And Akali is a pick that works so well with what EG's trying to go for. Everybody's trying to dive, get into the backline, and Diamond might just have to resort himself to Lantern duty here. There is a ton of engage on EG.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this from EG, especially in the mid jungle. They love to get aggressive and translate those leads across the map, but particularly towards the bottom side of it. So, going to be a pretty explosive first game, but I think that's really what we asked for, given how good Cloud9's season have been and how good EG's postseason has been. If I'm kind of comparing the two teams, that's what I'm looking at. Like, Cloud9 have looked unstoppable basically since after the first 3 weeks or so, but EG have been one of the biggest stories of the playoffs given how much they've improved week on week.
Yeah, I think EG for me has the X factor from the fact that they didn't have the jungler for most of the season, then the mid laner for most of the season, and then they've been able to play together in playoffs and get so many really high stake games as practice. Usually see in playoff runs, the teams that just get to go and play as many games as possible just somehow end up improving and surging more than the ones that were just waiting for their opponents to come to them.
All right, well, we'll see if the extra practice pays off, but we will be stepping away for a commercial to maintain competitive integrity. Don't go anywhere though. Game one of Academy Finals is next. Welcome back. We're about to get ourselves into the first game of the Academy Spring 2020 Finals. Crumbs, I think it's a good draft to start things off. It's not like super ridiculous. I don't think there's anything particularly unexpected, but very solid champions. I think this game, as you would expect from game one of a series, will tell us a lot about how the rest of the games will go. Because if you just looked at the most played champions for these teams, anyone could have predicted this draft.
I think the drafts are very good for both teams, right? Like you're saying, nothing crazy. Both teams very clearly have avenues of winning the game. They have ways to engage, to disengage. So a lot of it falls down on execution. And it seems that Cloud9's 2 wins with the Cassidy pick against TSM, a lot of them came from draft advantages. I really felt like that was what allowed them to do so much. And so here, starting from an even draft, I think we'll have a very different way of seeing Cloud9 in essentially even footing.
Well, I can say that the Summoners are quite defensive into the bottom lane, which is one of the places we are looking to see kind of how the games are going to play out. I think the analyst was kind of talking about how these are good players, these lanes are strong, lots of veterancy for these players as well. Even Diamond is now, the only remaining member of the original of last year's Cloud9 Academy. But they are more role players. They get kind of funneled a lot of resources and they carry their team through the mid to late game more than necessarily go off in every 2v2. Although King and Diamond have had those moments as well. But very defensive, so clearly respecting each other there. We've got 2 exhausts, a heal, and a cleanse between the 4 of them. So Inori going to get some help on his red buff, going to go down to his Krugs, and looks like Anders starting on the same side as well. So he will be pathing towards that bottom side.
He's pathing bot. There is a ward at River to see him if he goes for a cheesy gank, and even Syndra's moving towards that side. So the no-leash Jarvan gank is usually assumed that he starts at red because it's so strong for him to just go instantly gank from that, and he'll probably respond just farming to allow the wards to die before looking for a very strong play, which I think is actually the right move because he doesn't have very strong setup or damage in a lot of these lanes, right? The double defensive summoner, there's no ignites anywhere, so farming is the name of the game here.
Yeah, I like what Fudge is doing here, though. Someone that Raz called out as being a player to watch. Certainly has had a quiet season, at least in the early weeks, but I do agree with Raz in general that just feels like Fudge knows so many matchups and doesn't really make mistakes. So right now, taking over in the early levels of the set versus Ornn matchup, but I think these are losses Brandini probably expect. That one, maybe not so much, though, getting punched in the back of the horns. Brandini losing almost all his health there.
That is actually a really dangerous amount of health to lose. Look at Gragas. There are pings going to the top side. C9 could try to steal here. Brandini will likely hit 3 before it happens, but if they're good, Fudge has enough damage to take out Brandini. Look for that cannon to die before the dive happens. Oh, nice
TP. That's really cute. Fudge now going to just zone Brandini off. Here's Palafox coming in. Level 4 Syndra. Haymaker's good, and that's first blood. A very creative one from Cloud9 Academy.
Really sick, and a lot of that was on Brandini, taking that early trade, not recognizing the pathing from the junglers, knowing that, hey, they're gonna move to the top side, and he gets punished real badly from that. So good that the TP went on that cannon wave. Look at that. The second it died, Brandini would have hit 3 and would have had the knockup, but because Cloud9 knew the experience thresholds, they had first blood.
You had it nailed, Crumbs. What a cute play from Cloud9 Academy to give them the first blood of the finals. And now just above Inori, who is a little down on XP thanks to the gank and a 4-3 right now, but Inori does secure his blue buff safely, so isn't going to be too worried about the rest of the jungle pathing, and does maybe have to worry about Fudge/Palafox roaming in, although right now Giyu with the pressure in mid is going to get stunned up though. Electrocute, not the rune, it's actually Phase Rush this go around for Palafox, so wanting to play more with the mobility here, not needing to trade nearly as often, but Giyu clearly knows this matchup is just going to play with pressure, do what he can. One of the cool things about Giyu is, yes, he's very aggressive. Like, we've seen him go for solo kills, and whether they work or not, they're always very spectacular to watch. But I think the thing we've started to notice, Crumbs, about Giyu is that he's not just a guy that wants to win lane and that's it. He does leave his lane very often and look to roam particularly towards the bottom half of the map. So even though right now Palafox is looking good on the farm, there's not too much happening as far as kill pressure in mid maybe for the Akali, we know that Gyu can get out of this lane and affect the rest of the map as well.
He's like if you took almost like a melee one trick that plays Aurelia and all these other assassin champions, Aurelia, Rivens, the Jaxes, but then also understands how to translate leads to other parts of the map. So he's not one-dimensional in these bruisers, and I think that's what really catches a lot of people off guard, because that's something that is usually reserved for top lane, not mid laners, to play these kinds of champions and be able to pull them off so well. So I think he would actually become really strong in a roster that could also flex his picks to other roles.
Well, Palafox right now building that wave back up. He's actually impressively ahead in CS despite TPing top lane to make sure that Brandini died in that first blood. Gyu still looking for 6 himself, but shouldn't be too far off. He's just going to have to kind of play with this wave. Palafox may be calling Inori up here to see if Akali wants to get too aggressive, but instead will roam down to the bottom half of the map, and there is a Drake that they can look to start here. In fact, despite the speed front, Inori is going to start the Cloud Drake.
They've got pressure on bottom, mid lane just shoved out, and even though that Scuttle will spot them, they know that even if a fight were to break out, you're dealing with a level 6 Syndra right now, so you don't actually want to mess with that just yet. And you pointed out the difference between Electrocute and Arcane. I really like the Arcane difference because it's just so defensive. If it was tough to gank Syndra before in the sense that she could trade against you, now she can just press a few spells and just run away from you as well. So what was a bit of a weakness before in her lack of mobility, suddenly can be a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I think also nice knowing that you're probably going to be playing against 4 melee champions, which is the case with Zoe Van. And they're stealing away these wolves is going to get spotted at the end of the clear by Inori. Predator is going to get popped, but Gragas cannot find the Jarvan, and it gets out with the steal there. So still staying a little bit ahead in XP, although Inori has even the levels up for right now. I imagine Ander, given all these things, will be to 6 first, so we'll see if he can use that ultimate to try and affect one of the lanes himself, because it really just has been Fudge setting up his own gank and the TP and the gank coming in that gave us any action early in this game.
So Anda got out, but look at what he left in the jungle. You've got double controls on the brushes of Cloud9, so that is all built to protect Brandini here. They don't want him to die to the top lane again, and even Jarvan's passing up here. Brandini doesn't have mana. This would be a really tough kill, dependent on Fudge to go aggro.
Alright, well, Fudge is at least going to start the trading, but the bait is kind of completed here. There's the J4. Oh my goodness! Show stopped right past the knockup, but here comes the Orn Horn. Haymaker's there, Fudge. He actually might be able to find a way out of this, but no, I don't think so. Ander with the dunk, and we'll finally get the trade, but Fudge made it awfully close.
Oh, he could have gotten out, but he wanted to stay in there and get that return kill. He's got TP, so he'll likely just miss a few minions, but overall, that was a really good look from Ander, knowing that Fudge was gonna look for that, and they had the control wards to know that Inori was not going to respond. Instead, he takes blue buff, so it's not like Cloud9 loses out on that pressure.
No, instead, it's blue buff for Pala, as you mentioned. Inori going to go back towards mid lane. They might have an angle here on Gyu, but he does have his flash and the ulti, even though Akali's ultimate's not quite as good at getting her out of trouble now. With the Shuriken flip, Gyu's able to easily walk away from that situation. So, other than that, just some farming. Definitely a Matt hanging out. Been pretty even in the bot lane so far. In fact, this is surprisingly topside focused for a lot of this jungle attention. We expected the bot lane to get all the attention, as they have for both these teams throughout a lot of the playoffs, but it is not to be, at least in this early stages of this game.
I think when you're up against this kind of lane, Thresh, Varus, and you don't have level 6s, it's so tough to actually pull off your gank without having them be under the turret. So you're probably better off looking for a tower dive 3 to 4 man as EG or even Cloud9 than to try to gank them normally in the lane, which is why I think the focus has been to the other lanes. And you see it with the summoners. If you're running this, you're just saying, leave my lane, let us farm and join up when you need to 5v5.
Well, maybe have something here. Inori was... Sorry, Ander was down here briefly. Inori's actually recalled back to base. Got most of his runic echoes done, but hasn't quite finished the enchant just yet. Looks like they'll just leave though and move into mid instead. Gyu does have TP, which is what I was trying to get at. But finally, the bot lane helping out Gyu for once here. Palafox in a 1v4 real quick. Good hook into the knock-up there, and that's a beautiful combo. Matt gonna pick up the kill.
Oh my god, what a sick play. They even give Palafox a chance, and that is a perfect rotation into now a top lane swap. Might even get a blue buff invade. This is well timed by EG. Might even get Inori.
Yeah, Nori a little too far forward, didn't get knocked up by Ander. Slow there from Make It Rain. There's the dunk. Did not need to be used there in mid lane. So Nori going to be trapped in a cage and slapped down as Gyu TPs in to ensure this blue buff goes his way.
You know, all of those plays were chained from the fact that EG has vision on that entire side of the map. They know that there's no one coming. Thresh and Varus were stuck in the mid lane. They knew that they had dibs into the bottom lane. That's why Misfortune is so powerful in being able to roam like that over anybody else. And now EG, even though they were losing in the top lane matchup, suddenly just come up with a great set of team plays.
Yeah, that was like the advanced level version of the Rift Herald rotate, right? You know, it's up. They want to go try and contest for the objective. Instead of, you know, recalling and walking top, they just walk through mid, get a kill, walk through jungle, get a kill, and then take the Herald after.
Yeah,
if
why
it
not?
worked like that every time, why wouldn't every team do that?
Wow, okay. I mean, that might actually be the change. If your champions allow you to do that, I think that is probably the right choice. And it's Cloud9 not having deep vision on the blue side that didn't spot EG roaming in there, because EG put all their vision in the top quadrant of C9, whereas C9 only invaded. They didn't go for vision, and Inori gets played, and he is going to be dead here.
Interrupted are the Flag and Dragon. Nori's going to steal the Blast Cone as well. Very well played to give Gragas that kill.
It is a sad time to play Jarvan against Thresh, and he's just starting to remember that, because he didn't actually cross paths with Jarvan or Thresh up until now. He's like, yes, this is why I don't like playing against this champion.
Well, Diamond again clearly demonstrating his mastery of the pick. And kills continuing to be traded here. Cloud9 actually still up in gold. So with that Rift Herald going to be channeled somewhere soon, you imagine, from Ander. I feel like that gold will be evened up relatively shortly. For now though, Palafox going to hold on to his 20 CS lead and go back. He's almost finished his kind of first major item, but does have the Sork Shoes completed. And both Varus and Akali waiting for their blade, for their Bilgewater Cutlass items. In one case, it will be the Gunblade for Akali and the Blade of the Ruined King, which we've seen on a numerous amount of champions. Fudge included on the set in top lane, who's also going for that item.
Everyone wants some lifesteal, and everybody wants this dragon fight. Set is already here, and Ornn does have TP, so if C9 pulls the trigger first, they will have a numbers advantage.
Hook not going to go, but stun does connect onto Ander. Unfortunately, couldn't quite line up the skill shot CCs onto one target. Still, though, the Drake to play for here, as Cloud9 are flooding mid to try and get priority there, but Ander is going to take the ward out in the pit. That's going to mean Cloud9 going to have to rotate back through some vision here in order to start this objective.
Ooh, EG is going to fight this, and they're collapsing from two sides. Look at Akali from the back.
Oh, Matt in a little early, does miss the stun. Here's Brandini, though. That's the important one. Gets two-man knockup. Showstopper there from Fudge. He dives in and ties up the backline. Big haymaker is Gyu. He's able to assassinate King and Diamond. He takes the whole bot lane out for himself and definitely finishes off Fudge in the end. It's EG that take the fight and the Drake to boot.
What a wonderful engage. They just know exactly how they need to strike these fights, because Ornn had many places to TP in there. He could have joined with Akali on the left, to even TP'd further back, but then joins up with the team. So all CC comes from one way, and the Misfortune is piling on her ultimate in that direction. Actually, didn't even need it. It wasn't necessary. My bad. It was only a
Didn't need it.
Yeah, didn't even need it.
I mean, I like what Fudge did. Like, you have to tie up the backline there. I think it's so tough for MF to do anything. Like channel her ulti when Set is on top of you. You can threaten either ult if he hasn't used it, or just the E if he's holding onto it. But definitely just had enough DPS. The backline dive from EG made the difference there, and a very clean team fight. Really the first major team fight of the game. EG kind of winning the first two bigger engagements so far, despite Cloud9 being good at finding picks and generally laning well.
It's really tricky for King, because I'm thinking, how can he survive these kinds of engages if they're going to keep focusing him? He got Nautilus ultimate, Ornn ultimate, Jarvan ult, and then Akali diving on top of him. They can repeat that every single time, and his itemization it's not really getting any better towards that. I think the best case scenario is if he goes into that hyper late game Varus build where you go a little bit of AP and can even index into an hourglass if that's what it takes to survive against this dive. But we need Cloud9 to engage, not be receiving the engage themselves, because already they cannot withstand that. If Inori gets the flash engage before Ornn TPs, we have a very different Dragon fight.
Yeah, I mean, you maybe ask Diamond to play a screen away with the Lantern, right? But then your Thresh isn't doing anything, really, until the fight is maybe over. So, I agree. It is going to be interesting to see how they navigate all the CC. You can see why EG drafted the way they did, why Nautilus has been such a big pick for both these teams, because it's just so easy to lock down either of these ADs, really.
It's a nightmare comp for playing Marksman, is what this is for EG. Immobile Marksmen against this have a really tough time.
Well, it seems like a good strategy given how good King's season has been. But for now, he's not looking too hot. Definitely a map with the lead so far. Rest of the lanes are doing nicely for Cloud9 as they'll look for something here in mid. No, instead it's just Fudge and Inori kind of taking a brisk walk through the midsection of the map as Palafox goes over to collect his blue buff. But EG just camping in mid now with the duo lane. This game's going to kind of probably lull for this next dragon here, as EG know that they just have to kind of hold in these spots right now.
They have to hold, but there is a control ward back up there, and Cloud9 have TP advantage in the top lane, so I think that could be something that they should look to use.
Mid lane attempt. Diamond, though, just evades it. Or King took the lantern out, not too sure what it was. But still the pressure is continuing. EG sticking together. Again, this is something we've seen from them a lot throughout the playoffs. They, very good team play. Feels like they often get early leads just based on their coordination. And then it has been their mid to late game conversion of those leads in the full-on 5v5 team fight till the map set's a bit more complicated that it feels like EG can maybe make some mistakes or be too aggressive. But for now, certainly in their element. A minute 30 till the ocean is up. That is, of course, the soul for this rift.
Ooh, so Cloud9 does not have to take a fight here. They are just getting a tier 1 bot lane. The Herald will be lost, so it's not the end of the world here. EG will probably try to use that Herald afterwards on mid or top, and if they can time that well with the next dragon, they could free up so much more space in the map to allow Akali to get into the backline again and get another crazy assassination. King does not have flash up still, so they could get a fight during the setup and wipe out Varus clean.
Yeah, we'll see how EG want to approach this next objective. Top outer on mid, top outer on top lane, of course, is about low enough where I think the Herald could actually do the job almost on its own. But EG much more concerned right now with the central area of the map. Gunblade has been finished though for Akali. Blade though for Varus on the other side, although definitely still ahead on items there in general with the BF alongside the finished Essence Reaver. So it does feel like EG are in a better spot. The gold certainly says that as well, being up 2,000 right now for the Geniuses.
Oh, yeah.
And they will be the first to the area, so 20 seconds till this Drake starts, and I'm not even sure Cloud9 are going to fight for it.
Not just in the offensive itemization, but defensive. Oh my god, okay, definitely just finished an Infinity Edge. They are so strong.
All right.
18 minutes in, Infinity Edge, Reaver, and then his Nautilus has a stone play. Cloud9 cannot take this fight. They need to trade, and that's what they're going for. I am glad they recognize this. Let's see if they can take down Brandini.
All right, ulti going to be charged there. Show stopped and can't really move it back after that. That's an easy setup there as Fudge. A layup there, giving Palafox the kill, and they'll take the tower as well. Herald though channeled in mid, so EG gonna play just as quickly here. They know they have a advantage on the map they can still play with. Actually, it's bot lane for this Herald, excuse me. Gyu gonna try and take down the tier 2. Mid lane's in trouble. King is gonna take the lantern out this time, but did have to burn his heal.
Still has flash, so he will be able to stay relevant for this next fight, but the speed at which EG recognized that Cloud9 was not contesting is what allowed them to make 2 successive moves on bot and mid lane. Good for Fudge, though, to take that top turret. This is part of the Blade of the Ruined King build that allows you to actually push and be useful. It's something that Cloud9 could fall back on, continuing to pick on Brandini. It's something that EG recognized was a weak point early in the game, but we know that late, Set can have pressure pushing with this Blade build.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how how much Fudge is able to play in the side lanes. Actually, has finished a Black Cleaver now as well, so certainly suited up to try and pressure this on. We know that Brandini doesn't want to 1v1 the set, basically ever. Like, that's not what he's trying to do in this game on the champion. He wants to be with his team, starting team fights, and being a frontliner. But I feel like a lot of the time we see set with this kind of build, teams struggle to figure out what the balance is of, I need to bring my set to the team fight because he is in part our front line and part of our team fight plan, but he's also building for this 1v1 and can pressure the side lanes. So I feel like I haven't seen a lot of sets stick in the side lanes and really go for a lot of that pressure. So I'm curious to see if Fudge, with the rest of Cloud9, can execute more on that stage of the plan, or if that's even something they feel like is viable. Because I think based on where the game state sits right now, having Fudge be a big side lane threat is actually one of the ways Cloud9 kind of continues to float this game closer without letting EG kind of roll over them.
I totally agree with you. I mean, he's already pushing bottom, and with Baron being up, he's unlikely to be ganked because the threat would be too high with a Blade of the Rune King Varus. So I like that he's pushing down here, but it makes it so that Cloud9's 4-man squad have to be really, really defensive. They cannot engage in, or cannot be engaged upon. So Lantern duty, using those casts defensively and making sure that they know what fights they're taking before they jump into it, because that's something that usually catches team off guard. They see these opponents getting isolated, but they forget we're already applying map pressure, right? Our Fudge is already at the turret. This is not a fight that Cloud9 can take.
There's the dunk. Palafox forced to flash away. He does hold on to the blue buff though, but is maybe going to be able to finish it. No, it resets and runs straight back to the alcove. Gyu also very much a side lane threat as well. Can't underestimate the power of Akali in a duel either. So for now, it does seem like the teams are just sticking their strong side laners in opposite side lanes and trying to kind of, you know, use that as a lever to pivot around as they try and pressure the rest of the map. C9 though TPing in, going to try and play mid fast here and take the outer tower down. And looks like EG's response might be a little late here. Brandini is ready. Gyu's TPing in. There's the ulti out of all. The Diamond going to hold the lantern for Palafox. He needs to click it. Can't get it. No, he does. The hook is close, but Gyu's going to dive in there. Gets exhausted instantly, though. As Cloud9 going to turn the team fight around. Here comes Fudge, baby. Dunking into the backside. Going to tie Matt up. Haymakers there. Matt hooks off to a wall to try and get to safety. And somehow, nobody dies, Crumbs.
What a good disengager from Cloud9. I thought that definitely was going to use bullet time to clear the wave right away. But EG decided they wanted a 5v5. And unfortunately, the engage just was not able to connect to the backlane. Cloud9 spaced out sufficiently, and they're starting to realize that these lane fights are a lot tougher than the dragon fights, because if you're just fighting front to back like that, it's so much easier to dodge out of what EG is throwing your way. So Cloud9 starting to pick up the slack in how they need to play around this composition from EG, and with a very good peel on Akali as well.
All right, well, still quite early in this game, all things considered. There is a Drake coming up in minute 5. It would be EG third and second Ocean. 2 items here for King, almost 2 for Palafox. Does feel like maybe Cloud9 can entertain the idea of a team fight here, especially with mid being opened up. They've got a bit more space to play with if they can get the wave pushing back on EG's half of the map. Does seem like that's what Palafox and the rest of the team are doing. Given the current position, both teams lining up for a team fight here, but Cloud9 will be first to clear out this vision thanks to the mid priority they were able to get off their last play.
I like EG's chances in this fight right now. I think they have a really good target with Palafox not having stopwatch, no flash available as well. They should not try to take this in the lane again, though. They saw how it failed last time. Control the wave and then get into the pit with multiple angles. That's how their fights should play out. And it looks like Cloud9's positioning is just beating them. They need Matt to just face check in it. You got double stone plates in here. Get in there.
Yeah, Brandini only just got his ult back as well, and Matt actually doesn't have his for a couple more seconds. So there is kind of a window here for Cloud9 to get aggressive. Matt, though, is going to have the depth charge back up. So this is a dangerous game Cloud9 are playing, and EG know it. There's the Ram. Does knock up one, but it's only Diamond. Gyu trying for the flank, but Cloud9 might just go in for this.
They don't know Gyu's here yet.
Nice spot sneaking into that bit of brush. There's the ulti out of Nautilus. They're just going to try and zone off for the dragon. Good ult though from Varus, but Giyu is going to be the target. He's in the shroud though, but the redemption is down. Fudge is tanked up so much on the backside as he finally dies, but they do get the Akali as Palafox is able to find the shutdown now. They just need to stay alive. But bullet time though is going to cordon off the rest of the area, and definitely is going to get Honori on the back end as well.
Wow, and all things considered, while EG lost to Dragon, they win the fight. It's going to allow them to push into the mid-tier 1, get that tower. So, pretty good fight overall. And unfortunately, Akali was not able to find her way into the backline, but that was because the CC came out pretty early. They had no vision of that backline, so while the fight still happened in the Dragon, the positioning really just mirrors a 5v5 in mid lane here, right? Front to back, not a lot of angles to come in through. And watch this Ornn Ram, right? There's no vision here, there's control wards in the back, so Giyu can't even approach that rush. He's thinking, well, I need to get in here no matter what. This is a good avenue. Dash in here, avoid some skill shots, and while Nautilus goes in, another major crowd control spell is used. Then Giyu goes in. You know the Akali is not going to work out now. It gets one shot with the Syndra ultimate as she exits out, but Palafox comes out as a hero and steals the dragon.
Yeah, Honori also just couldn't get in there and lock down Matt. I guess Cloud9 felt kind of split at the end there, so Honori, I think, wanted to continue the fight, whereas Cloud9 were more focused on the Drake and the rest of the champions in front of them. Still a fairly even trade. In fact, the gold, only 500 between these two teams, with EG still holding a thin lead. But I feel like Deathloop's positioning has been as impressive as Cloud9's ability to currently deal with Giyu diving in these team fights. I'm not even saying that Giyu is necessarily making the wrong play trying to dive, but Cloud9 are reacting so well to the threat of this Akali that I feel like these team fights are going to stay very close throughout a lot of this game, because both teams clearly understand, you know, all the angles, what the other team is trying to do with the composition, and the things that they can do to try and counter it. So
the fact that
it's nice.
It's so nice for Deathly, because everybody's trying to go in and dive King and Palafox, so no one on Cloud9 has time to think about, well, who's going to deal with Deathly? Everybody's just trying to pile in already, and so he now has a max bounty already, feeling so good. And as long as EG continues to be so aggressive, he's going to be in a prime position to just deal with whoever is in their way. There's no armor on these champions. There's no tanks here, really, against what a Misfortune is delivering with her guns.
Yeah, I mean, certainly side lane set, not going to be the tankiest of champions.
Yeah.
Definitely going to demonstrate that right here.
Tank.
But just going to go down. Oh, flash Haymaker, but kind of ill-advised. The Nautilus was still chasing him. He was trying to get to Diamond's Lantern, but burns almost everything and still dies. Fudge a little too far forward there.
That feels like the opposite of Caster Curse. What is that?
I guess to be blessed, definitely. Is it just called getting, you know, I don't know, you made the right prediction.
Yeah, I guess. Not a curse, but yeah, blessing. Caster blessing.
I mean, definitely, certainly feeling blessed this game. 4-0 into
Upgraded
Molten
IE.
Edge finished us. Oh yeah, oh goodness. If the individual gold that he had over King wasn't enough, yeah, the fact that Ornn is also starting to upgrade those items is gonna make Deathly feel even more powerful here.
This is since we have a bit of a lull until the next dragon, this is where I feel like the Trundle pick for Cloud9 would have been really strong in both disengaging and offering a somewhat of a physical damage threat dealing with the tanks. Because now Varus has to go with just Infinity Edge. She's going with this crit build. I think that if you had a Trundle that would have been able to be a little bit more AD, more shredding these tanks, Varus could have gone with a more defensive build against this dive.
Yeah, we'll see. King certainly understands the threat the enemy team poses to him. He's gonna TP back in. That's Palafox instead. Looking for the real quick play onto Deathly. I like it, but you know, I think mostly knows he's just here to clear the wave and protect this mid outer tower, which is a very real amount of territory that Cloud9 own that EG do not. Also, 16 pings around the Drake area. I think Cloud9 want to set up, despite the disadvantage they are feeling, especially in the bot lane right now. I think Cloud9 recognizing that we have to make sure we fight for this Drake. We want to be the team that's first threatening this soul, but Giyu also, as you mentioned, able to play side lane pressure nicely. given how strong his team is looking.
He has TP, and there's not a lot of great wards here. Looks like Cloud9 has major positional advantage for this, and yeah, EG's just not looking to contest it at all. Their positioning does not indicate they care about this dragon. They rush it. What does EG answer? Because they're only getting that tier 2 top and maybe tier 1 mid if C9 gets back on time.
Yeah, gonna have to bring one back here to stop the Akali. Looks like they are gonna get the mid as well. It was already fairly low, so easy take there for EG. Not a bad trade, all things considered. That will give EG back the gold lead. They're actually up about 2,700, and this is the play I like. Rotating straight to Baron, knowing that you pulled them off their base, and now Cloud9 will find out about it.
They don't know where Akali is, and that is really dangerous. Look at Matt and Nanda. They want this fight. You text out the vision. Here we go.
Sticking on Baron as well, and the deep TP from Sets come out. Diamond with a great stopwatch there in the middle, and EG are pulling off, but that's a kill already. Fudge here, gonna try and find the dunk. He's got definitely locked down, but they can't follow up. King, though, he's able to find that first kill, but he needs to stay alive with the rest of the carries. Definitely still shooting, but Honori and Fudge getting low. Palafox dives in, he needs to kill Definitely, and he does now. Giyu gonna be the next one as the next round of CC lands. There's the double in from Palafox and Cloud9. They find the team fight.
And the Baron bait turns into their own demise. Now they have only Honori as the hope. He can try to look for a steal, but this Syndra's so strong.
Palafox! Did he get knocked out by Baron? That's an oopsie. Ooh. I think he was trying to kill the Blast Cone. Needs to get it done. Is still threatening actually Palafox, so I take it all back. Had it on lockdown, but I'm pretty sure he stepped on a tendril in the back there. Cloud9 though still committing to this. Anda can try and steal this.
Oh.
No flash, Brandini in, Anda in as well. They need to kill him very, very quickly. King does it, Baron over, and Palafox going to chase down Brandini as well. Does have the mana for it, is going to line up the stun. Gets it, there's the ulti coming back off, and Brandini is going to live! What? Gets a shutdown, 900 extra gold as Honori can barely trade the kill out.
Oh, the Ornn tankiness at the end of the day, but we're going to look at this fight again because look at how much EG uses on Diamond. Right, immediately you've got Misfortunal, Ornn ultimate, and then Akali goes in, even uses Shroud, because they had no idea where the rest of C9 was. They assumed that Palafox and King were following right behind them, but it was only the Thresh, and that positional, I guess, foresight was what let Cloud9 just mop the floor with EG.
Fudge's TP looked a little ambitious.
Yeah,
one angle, but he made it work. Like, that Haymaker did so much damage, knew that he had to force the issue. Cloud9 wanted to be aggressive. It was indeed a tendril that knocked up old Palafox in the end there, which actually kind of makes this Baron take feel a little more iffy than you'd expect, but Palafox forces them out. His team, he's able to make sure he'll take the Blast Cone and deny that avenue in for Anda. And then Anda, he knows he has to try and steal, but Cloud9 lost the discipline here in the pit.
It was really scary. Cloud9 just knew that. I'm first of all surprised that they even kept autoing that one, because usually you just let Jarvan wait his flag out and then you finish it, but they wanted blood, as you can see here. I'm surprised that Brandini still lived with that sliver of HP. It's the Abyssal Mass Power, I suppose.
I think so.
Healing
also,
from spells.
I think a Tick of Ocean might have...
Oh.
I saw plus 87. I don't know where it came from. I'm assuming it's the Ocean Drake and slash general health regen, but whatever it was, the margins are very slim. Brandini did at least get traded out, but a lot of extra gold for the Ornn. Taking down Palafox always feels good. But whatever it is, Cloud9 now bring the lead back to themselves. They're actually not up that much in gold, but with the Baron now for 50 more seconds on the Red Bull Baron power play, they're going to use that pressure, try and open up enough space to get the soul for themselves and kind of build, you know, a more tangible, bigger lead in this game that has been very back and forth between these two teams.
And that Baron play from EG now looks kind of silly when you consider that it was set up from a giving up third dragon. They gave up the third dragon, and now because they lose the Baron, they've lost that objective and are now facing Ocean Soul. No one has any healing reduction besides the Ornn, so things might get really hairy for them if they lose this one out. So all their eggs have to be here. You know that Brandini is not risking a TP. They're looking to engage right away, and positioning Giyu behind the carries is super important. None of them have flash. He can wipe the floor with C9's carries, and here we go. Death Cap upgraded.
Ulti, good lance in there from Diamond. It misses everybody though, but Anders still chasing. EG so aggressive here, trying to cut off the rest of Cloud9 as Fudge and Nori were briefly separated, but Cloud9 will rally back in. A good stun there onto Giyu, at least forces the Akali to be a little more careful, but it is not the Zhonya's here for Akali. It is the upgraded death cap. So EG getting real spicy. What a hook though. Matt gonna land it onto Palafox. He needs to go into stasis. Does indeed. Zhonya's Fudge with a big dunk in the backside. He's gonna threaten Death. He's off the fight completely. Takes him down. Giyu trying to dive into the back line, but Cloud9 still all 5 alive as they're gonna make it 4 kills and probably 5. As Brandini going to get chased down. There is Giyu still out. He's actually running back towards the top half of the map, but Fudge is going to chase down Brandini, and Cloud9 are going to barrel down mid. Don't need the ace, just need to make sure that the base is theirs, as Fudge is going to finish off Brandini in style.
That's gonna be it. They're TPing in. It's only Giyu versus the world, but I suspect that as a melee champion, he just does not have what it takes to defend against 5 from Cloud9.
Well, Crumb says the world's gonna win. We'll see if Cloud9 can indeed put the final finishing touches on the first Nexus of the series. 2 turrets down. Giyu, we get stunned, gets hooked. That's just absolutely filthy from Cloud9 as they take down the first Nexus of the finals.
This was a great opening game, Pastry. I am so glad with how it panned out, kind of back and forth, but it all came down to one late game decision from EG. It's what hurt them in the first playoff game against Team Liquid, hurt them the second one against Dignitas, and here again against a Cloud9 team that punishes harder than their previous opponents. They just win from that pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I almost said it at the end of the game, but I suppose I'll say it now. That is not the first time we have seen Evil Genius Academy be punished in the mid to late game for being a little too aggressive on a decision. And Cloud9 just very stoic, understanding what they need to do. A team that has practiced a ton, and it's clearly shown throughout the season. Able to take that game very cleanly, kind of realizing those situations. But EG showing that they certainly have enough fight. So it is looking to be a nice series. So we'll step away. But when we return, the State Farm Analyst Desk breaks down that win and looks towards Game 2. Don't go anywhere.
Houston? Brightness is increasing. There it is. Oh, yeah, beautiful.
Cars like this don't come around often. The redesigned Type R, the most powerful Civic ever, from Honda.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2020 Spring Academy Finals. I am here again with Raz and Mark Z to break down game number 1. Because even though it was looking like Cloud9 was risking getting outscaled, they were able to turn it around for a victory.
Yep. Banger alert.
That was one of those games where Raz and I were like, oh, I like this team's draft more. Oh, I like this more. Oh, now they're done. They're going to get outscaled. Oh, now this thing's going to happen. And, I mean, the goal graph says it all. No one knew it was going to happen that game.
This
So
is
what
a
was it
classic
that allowed them?
LPL draft. Yep. For me, the saddest thing about the comp, like if we were talking about the comp that C9 had, is it looked beautiful. If a team, I think, is consistent in the early game, and I think a lot really respectful when they go into mid game, but like proper split push timings and all of that, I think this is a picture perfect draft that most people would want to have in their favor. But they got caught by EG's Rome squad, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those comps that's really easy to execute. You have so many line skill shots to pick people off, but you also are pretty early game focused, and you're not very mobile. So if you ever fall behind, the enemy team has a J4, an Ornn, and a Nautilus, it can be pretty easy to just get blown out of the game, which is why it was a hard one to predict what was going to happen, because both teams had really strong win conditions.
Well, and one thing with Cloud9, they're known to have multiple ways to find those win conditions, not just the bot lane, but the top lane being a strong point for them. So, Raz, what did you think of Cloud9's decision to try to play through Fudge in the top lane and how they were able to execute that?
Strong. And I think it's standard. Whenever you're on blue side, if you go for a set pick and enemy team looks for Ornn, you have the 1v1 advantage, or at least like the side lane advantage there. So especially having a good timing on the top lane 3-for-1 dive, where they just had the teleport on Syndra to just help in on that. A lot of the times you don't even necessarily need that, but that just showcases a lot of confidence in their top laner, right? That Fudge was able to get that off. And then even when they were behind, they were playing well through him on side lane. I felt really happy seeing that they weren't hard forcing fights when they were had such a large deficit, and were willing to take bottom lane outer turret for the top lane Rift Herald. And even in that game-ending play, Fudge came out wonderful, where it felt like he came on that teleport on a flank, really changed the trajectory of the game through that team fight. And so while the KDA wasn't stunning, I think his play while ahead and behind was well done from him.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those games where if you just look at scoreline, you think he didn't do that much, but early game ran through him. In the mid game, he helped stabilize in side lane, and then the big fight that they actually won at Baron to get back in the game was largely off of him with that TP flank.
Yeah, he was pulling the attention of the Ornn away constantly during portions of the game. But if you look at other rotations, Deathly and Matt, for instance, were able to go and join the rest of the team fairly early. So, Mark, what do you think of Deathly's ability to try and provide that for the team, even if it didn't work out for them with a win?
Yeah, I think a lot of the advantages that EG did manage to find this game came through their bot lane. They were in a bit of a tough matchup with Varus Thresh that they were laning against, but they controlled the lane for most of it. They had great deep vision the entire early game. Gragas was always spotted whenever he was down there. They were able to get a CS lead, and then they transitioned that mid with the Nautilus roam to really kind of break the game open, which then spilled over into the jungle as well. So I was surprised that they were able to win that matchup as hard as they did, not necessarily just in CS, but with what the pressure was able to do for them. Part of that was C9 having more focus on the top side in the early game, but that's exactly what you want to see your bot lane do when they are given an advantage.
Yeah, and I think my takeaway too was I saw definitely starting to pull away in the CS margin at certain points, where even when Gragas was bot side and he was going in for a blue buff invade, they didn't necessarily need Varus and Thresh's help, but I think they were rotating a lot, and so they didn't get a full crash on turret, and it made it harder for them in their lane to just farm up on that one. So and it's funny, when I look at EG, we both expected them to win with the advantage that they had. And even then, it was hard for me to pick out a single player and say, this was the reason for their victory, right? Because of the fact that it turned in from a mid lane play onto Palafox, where the dual lane both rotated for that play. And then an invade on topside jungle that got Gragas, where it was J4 that was there. It felt like the problem is when you're dealing with evil geniuses, they roll up as a squad. And they all perform in the early game. And I think EG going into game 2 are like, oh yeah, we're going to do this again. Their strategy hasn't changed from week 1. So it's going to be on C9, I think, to just not get caught off guard.
C9 want to power through for another victory in game number 2, but EG are looking to stand strong and keep themselves in this series. When we return, we will hop into the next match, so stay tuned.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.